In my last life, I was abused by my husband and I secretly moved out with my daughter. I repeatedly told my daughter not to reveal the address of my new home. My daughter agreed, but she told her husband the address. I was beaten to death by my husband in the rental house. My daughter cried aggrievedly. What did I do wrong? I just wanted a complete family. Okay. In this life, you will be locked up with your good father. When I was reborn, I was packing up to move. My husband Ethan is a vicious and domestic violence man. He not only beats and scolds me on weekdays, but also threatens me that if I dare to think of divorce, he will kill me and my daughter. In order to get rid of Ethan, I took my daughter Chloe and fled to another city while he went out drinking with his friends. Worried about being found by Ethan, I changed my mobile phone number, cut off contact with all my previous relatives and friends, and repeatedly told Chloe not to have any contact with Ethan again. Chloe nodded in agreement, but when I wasn't paying attention, she secretly sent a message to Ethan, saying that she missed her father. Ethan coaxed Chloe for a few words, easily asked for our address, and chased after us that night. He kicked open the door of the rental house and punched and kicked me. I couldn't resist and was beaten to death. This incident caused an uproar in the local area. Facing the interview with reporters, daughter Chloe cried in grievance. What did I do wrong? I just want a complete family. If my mother hadn't run away secretly, my father wouldn't have been so angry and beat her so hard. Later, she proved in court that Ethan killed me by accident and didn't kill me intentionally. In the end, Ethan was sentenced for abuse and was released after only 5 years in prison. When Ethan was released from prison, his daughter had grown up. The two of them were so happy with the loving father and filial daughter that they had long forgotten that there was such a person as me. It's a pity that my life was so tragic that I actually gave birth to a sharp knife from my crotch to stab myself in the back. God has eyes, I was reborn miraculously. The hatred in my heart surged like a tide, making me tremble with anger. Just then, the door was pushed open from the outside, and my daughter Chloe with a ponytail walked in. Seeing the half-packed suitcase on the ground, she frowned and said with a bit of dissatisfaction in her tone, "Mom, you are not going to run away from home with me again." She kicked the suitcase against the wall with her foot, and continued without waiting for me to speak, "Mom, you are too fragile. It's not easy for my dad to make money outside every day. He just hit you twice because he was in a bad mood. You keep making trouble. What if you run away from home? If you are found by my dad, you will be beaten again." Listening to my daughter's cold words that were exactly the same as in her previous life, my heart skipped a beat. The hatred was too deep. Before the thoughts in my mind were finished, the doubts in my heart had already come out. "You're the one who tells Ethan where we are every time, right?" Perhaps shocked by my unprecedented fierce look, my daughter Chloe, who had just looked impatient, took 2 steps back subconsciously and muttered, "If I don't tell my dad quickly while he calms down, you still want me to be homeless for the rest of my life. I see." Every time I was beaten by Ethan, I would take my daughter back to my mother's house. After my parents passed away, the old house was quickly sold by my brother and sister-in-law. I had nowhere to go, so I took my daughter to hide in a hotel. Unfortunately, no matter how far or remote the hotel was, Ethan would soon find us. I had never understood how an ordinary bus driver like Ethan could have such a powerful ability. It turned out that everything was leaked by this ungrateful daughter in front of me. New and old hatreds piled up together, and I could no longer control myself. I raised my hand and slapped my daughter in the face. This ungrateful daughter never dreamed that I would hit her. She covered her face and looked at me with hatred. "You dare to hit me? I'm hitting you." I slapped her twice more. Looking at the red and swollen finger marks on her face, the anger in my heart barely dissipated a little. I cursed in a low voice, "You have no conscience, get out." The ungrateful daughter stared at me fiercely. She was only 8 years old, but her ferocious and vicious appearance was exactly the same as that beast Ethan. I kicked her out of the door, fearing that if I looked at her again, I would not be able to help but kill this ungrateful daughter. Outside the door, the ungrateful daughter burst into tears and kicked the door and cursed. "Wait, I'll call my dad back to beat you to death. Wait. I'd rather wait and see how this ungrateful daughter will be tortured to death by Ethan, who favors boys over girls, without my protection." I looked down at the suitcase, which was mostly filled with clothes and daily necessities that this ungrateful daughter needed for daily life. I'm such a pity that I've worked so hard as a nanny for so many years, but I don't even have a decent piece of clothing. Now, I don't need any of these anymore. Thinking that Ethan would be back soon, I threw the things in the suitcase out and hurried out with only my ID card and mobile phone. The train ticket was bought before, but in order to prevent Ethan from finding me, I bought a new ticket to another city. Without the burden of the ungrateful daughter, any formalities were handled very smoothly. 2 hours later, I boarded the plane and completely left the city where I had lived for more than 30 years. Unlike my previous life, this time I didn't rush to throw away my previous phone number, but installed it on the backup plane. Doesn't the ungrateful daughter think Ethan is a great person? I want to see how she can live a good life in Ethan's hands without me working hard to run the family. I thought Ethan would be able to be kind to his daughter for a few days because his ungrateful daughter had taken the initiative to inform on him many times, but the facts proved that I really overestimated him. As soon as I got off the plane, the messages on my phone flooded in. When I opened the chat software, the first thing that caught my eye was the bruised face of the ungrateful daughter, accompanied by Ethan's vicious voice. Maya, get back here quickly, or I will beat this money loser to death. Ethan abused me and never showed mercy when beating my daughter. It was just that I always stood in front of the ungrateful daughter, which saved her from being killed. I thought she could understand my efforts and forbearance, but she didn't appreciate it at all. Instead, she had the illusion that Ethan only beat me and not her. It's just that the retribution came too fast. If it was in my previous life, I would be so distressed that I couldn't breathe, but now I just felt happy, and my face was smiling a little more. I thought about it, and finally replied, "She is your daughter, I believe you can take good care of her, come on." The message was sent, and the phone was turned off directly. There are countless times to hit someone once, and this drama of father's love and daughter's filial piety has just begun. I have to rest up and watch it carefully. It was a week later when I turned on the backup phone again. Messages popped out desperately, and there were more than 500 missed calls. My finger swiped lightly on the screen, and the next second, my eyes caught a strange yet familiar phone number, Rita. Rita is my cousin's wife, and like me, she lives in the shadow of domestic violence, being beaten and scolded by her husband every day. The most serious time, she was thrown out of the second-floor window by her husband and broke her leg on the spot. The plaster on her leg was not removed yet, and her internal organs were injured again. Because we have similar tragic experiences, my relationship with Rita is particularly good, and we can talk about anything on weekdays. Before I fled City A in my previous life, I reluctantly sent a message to Rita to say goodbye. She repeatedly asked me to have a meal with her before leaving, but I refused because I was in a hurry to catch the train. Later I learned that after Rita received my message, she immediately called Ethan and, under Ethan's instructions, wanted to catch me in the trap. If I went to the appointment, I would have been beaten to death that day without waiting for my ungrateful daughter to report it. At that time, I couldn't understand why she wanted to kill me so viciously when we were both victims of domestic violence. Now I understand. She beat me day after day, and her mentality had long been twisted and perverted. Only when I was beaten by her husband like her, and beaten more severely, could she feel relieved and would never let me escape from the bad luck. Just like the crabs in the fresh market, if one wants to escape, the other will immediately pull it down, and they must become fish meat on the sticky board together. In short, Rita is like my daughter who repays kindness with enmity. Both of them are accomplices of the evil. In my revenge plan, she should have a share of retribution. It seems that there is some kind of psychological induction. When I was stunned, Rita's phone called again. I curled the corners of my lips slightly and gently pressed the answer button. Rita seemed to have not expected to get through the phone call. She was slightly stunned for a moment, and then she blamed, "Where have you been, Maya? You don't even care about the children. Do you know that Chloe was almost beaten to death by Ethan? Just almost beaten to death, not yet killed? That's such a pity." Thinking of the impatient and vicious face of my ungrateful daughter on the day I left, I sighed and sneered in her tone. Chloe said that her father works so hard outside, and it's nothing to occasionally beat her a few times. Just bear it and it will pass. Don't ungrateful daughters like to be generous to others? I gave her this generous opportunity, she should be very happy, right? I know you have been wronged. There are always bumps in life. Come back quickly, otherwise it will be too late if Ethan gets angry. This is really ridiculous. I couldn't help but ask back, I won't go back, what can he do to me? No one can stay out all their lives. Rita's tone clearly showed a hint of disappointment. Maya, you are usually quite smart, why are you so confused now? Men are bound to be hot-tempered when they are young, and they won't be able to fight anymore after a few years. You are about to get out of this, why are you so depressed? I was shocked by Rita's weird brain circuit. No wonder she was abused to the point of hanging a dung bag for life, and she never thought of escaping. It can only be said that character determines destiny. Some people's words and deeds are really worthy of the suffering they endure. Seeing my silence, Rita thought I was persuaded, and became more energetic. Come back quickly, I will persuade Ethan to make a big deal out of it and beat you up a few times, don't be ungrateful. Am I a mean person, and should I be grateful for being beaten by others? I laughed at Rita's shameless remarks and said calmly, if you want to live like this, live well. I'm different from you. I'm not a slut. Rita was choked by my retort and instantly became furious. Ethan has been looking for you everywhere and threatened to dig up your parents' graves. Don't blame me for not reminding you. These words are very familiar. In my previous life, Ethan threatened me more than once, but did nothing. He didn't dare. Although my brother was cold and indifferent to me and was unwilling to support me to deal with Ethan, he would never watch him dig up my parents' graves. Otherwise, wouldn't he become the laughingstock of the whole town? If he has the guts, go dig it. If he doesn't, he's a son of a bitch. I know that with Rita's character, she must have secretly recorded the audio at this moment, and said with undisguised contempt, "This is just the beginning. The internet is so developed now. He'd better go online to complain about me abandoning my husband and daughter. Maybe he can become an internet celebrity and sell goods live on the internet to the peak of his life." After that, she hung up the phone. Yes, the reason why I answered Rita's call was to let her tell Ethan the last sentence. If God wants to destroy people, he must make them crazy first. Ethan is the one who likes to complain the most. Every time he beat me up, he would immediately kneel down, slap himself in the face, and cry and beg for forgiveness. Such a good acting skill must be used to a greater extent. I want to make him completely disgraced and become a street rat that everyone shouts and beats. After turning off the backup machine, I went out to the nearest supermarket to buy a lot of things, filling the refrigerator and cabinets of the rental house. As expected, I was about to encounter my first human flesh search and cyberbullying in my life. I could be exposed at any time when walking on the street, so it was better to stay at home and watch the show. I don't know whether Rita's message was too fast or Ethan was too eager to become an internet celebrity and make a fortune. I thought that even with my advice, it would take 2 or 3 days for the matter to ferment, but I didn't expect it to be hyped up on the hot search that night. In the video, Ethan hugged his daughter who had repaid kindness with hatred and began his clumsy performance. The father and son hugged their heads and cried, accusing me of alcoholism, beating and scolding them at every turn, and not fulfilling my obligations as a wife and mother. They just advised me a few words, and I ran away from home and disappeared. In order to gain sympathy, the father and daughter were humbled to the dust, repeatedly saying that they knew they were wrong, and as long as I was willing to go home, they would never stop me from drinking again, and they would not fight back or scold me. At the end of the video, I didn't forget to post my recent photo and ID information, for fear that the cyberbullying I suffered was not specific enough. Women drinking alcohol? Not to mention contemporary China, even in the vast history of human development, this is an extremely rare and new thing. It is hard for Ethan to say such nonsense without changing his expression or heartbeat. Unfortunately, people in the internet world have different minds. No matter how absurd the remarks are, as long as the performance is in place, someone will believe them. Ethan's tearful accusation quickly aroused the sympathy of many people. Of course, most of this sympathy turned into accusations and abuses against me. Many people directly suggested that Ethan divorce with his daughter and stay away from scum like me. Ethan once again showed his good man nature, and tearfully expressed that he loved me deeply. He cried in front of the camera with snot and tears. "Wife, I know I don't make much money, and you always look down on me for being useless. As long as you come back, I will work 2 jobs every day and give you all the money I earn. Wife, it doesn't matter if you don't want to wash clothes or cook. I can do all these. Wife, I will help the children with their homework and take them to and from school. As long as you stay with me, I will listen to you." The daughter who repaid kindness with hatred also cried with tears. "Mom, I will never eat snacks again. I will study hard and help you with housework. Mom, if you get angry and hit me again, I will not fight back or scold you." Just kidding, we have been married for nearly 10 years, and when has Ethan ever done housework? I have to ask him for the $2,000 of household expenses every month again and again, and then I have to be beaten before I can get it. As for the daughter who repaid kindness with hatred, I have loved her since she was born. It is not an exaggeration to say that I am afraid that she will melt if I hold her in my mouth. Even if she is too naughty, I have never touched her. It's a pity that I was too stupid in my previous life. I always wanted to take her out of the sea of suffering, but I didn't see clearly that she was essentially an accomplice to the evil. I was so angry that I trembled all over. I wanted to put my hand into the camera and tear apart the two hypocritical and disgusting faces of Ethan and the daughter who repaid kindness with hatred. Unfortunately, it's not the right time yet. I have to be patient for a few more days. In the video, the disgusting performance of the father and daughter continues. After crying her heart out, Ethan did not forget to ask netizens to help her find my whereabouts, and generously claimed that if they could find my trace, they would be rewarded handsomely. Look, how solid this loving wife persona is. It's so sad that anyone who sees it will cry. Miserable men always easily win sympathy, especially infatuated miserable men. I watched Ethan's newly opened social account quickly increase from a few hundred fans to more than 100,000, and there is a trend of continuing to soar. Looking at the comment area, netizens from all over the world have spontaneously started the search for people. Every moment, many photos of women with similar height and appearance to me are uploaded to the comment area, asking Ethan to identify whether they are his beloved wife. Unfortunately, these are not me, and the results are certainly not satisfactory. Over there, netizens from all over the country are looking for me. Over here, as the number of fans of Ethan's personal account soars, some brands have found him and want to take advantage of this wave of popularity to let him live broadcast and sell goods. Everyone knows that live broadcasting and selling goods online is a lucrative job that can make you rich overnight, but it always takes more time to establish a solid person and then proceed step by step. Ethan did not have that long-term vision, and soon began to sell misery and sell goods. Although this trick aroused the disgust of some people, there were also people who supported it, and the live broadcast was quite lively. Relying on selling misery, he enjoyed the treatment of rising from an ordinary person to a star overnight. I'm afraid Ethan will laugh in his dreams, right? Fortunately, I was prepared and I have been living in a small house without leaving the house. Walking on the street now, maybe it is really possible that netizens who think they are kind will take pictures of my whereabouts and send them to Ethan. How to describe this behavior? I can only say that as a human being, sometimes not being self-righteous and meddling in other people's affairs is also a kind of kindness. My online account is a small account opened with a new mobile phone number, and no one knows it. My previous mobile phone has been turned off, so it doesn't matter even if the phone message is exposed. No one knows my current address. As long as I don't go out, this cyberbullying can't affect me at all. It's time to take the initiative. Thinking of this, I turned on the spare phone that I hadn't used for a long time and sent a message to Ethan. Ethan, you lied to kind netizens and mobilized netizens who didn't know the truth to bully me online. Your conscience has been eaten by dogs. Ethan kept his phone with him and replied shortly after sending the message. He was not a fool. He knew that I might keep evidence if he said something wrong at this time, so he started to perform seriously. Wife, you finally replied to my message. I was wrong. I was really wrong. Please come home soon. As long as you are willing to come back, I will do anything for you. After that, the phone rang. Although I knew that Ethan had been prepared and was probably deliberately playing the victim, I still pressed the recording button when I answered the phone. Ethan's choked voice soon came from the phone. Wife, I know you despise me for not making money and having no future. Now I am an internet celebrity and can support you. Please come back soon. Look, his personality is really not falling. I thought I would be so angry that I would tremble all over when I heard Ethan's voice again, but at this moment, I was more forbearing. I took a deep breath and said coldly, Ethan, lies are lies after all. You have beaten me so many scars over the years. Those scars will not lie. As long as I show up, I can easily expose your lies. Wife, what are you talking about? When did I ever beat you? Ethan's tone was obviously a little guilty, but he suppressed it. Wife, I do this for the good of our family. You don't want Chloe to have a miserable life, do you? In his words, he threatened me with his daughter who repays kindness with hatred. You have never loved me, let alone my daughter. We are just tools for you to vent your twisted and perverted emotions. While Ethan was complacent, I threatened him coldly. I warn you to stop your clumsy performance immediately, otherwise don't blame me for exposing your ugly face and making you fall into eternal damnation. After hanging up the phone, I turned off the backup device again. Ethan is a ruthless and incompetent coward, but his trust is so high that he will grab this sudden wealth at all costs. He will do whatever it takes to get rid of anyone who threatens him. I am a time bomb that can expose his true face at any time. He will do whatever it takes to get rid of me. Unfortunately, I hid too well and he couldn't find any trace of me. It was in vain. Now there are two ways in front of him. The first is to abuse his ungrateful daughter more severely so that I, as a mother, can't bear it and compromise. The second is to find an illegal network hacker to find me by locating the location of my phone. But the phone is turned off, so even if he finds a hacker, it may not be useful. In comparison, it is more cost-effective to beat up the ungrateful daughter. The ungrateful daughter relies so much on her good father and trusts her. For the glory and wealth of her good father, she must be happy to be beaten a few more times, right? I curled my lips and showed a happy smile. The game has been set, and there is nothing for me to do next. I just eat and drink leisurely in the rental house every day, and pay attention to the fermentation of hot searches from time to time, and the surveillance at home. Yes. In my previous life, I never gave up the idea of divorcing Ethan. In order to collect evidence of Ethan's domestic violence and have enough advantages in the divorce lawsuit, I had already quietly installed a micro camera at home. Later, the development of things became more and more uncontrollable. I almost fled with my daughter who repaid kindness with hatred, and I didn't have time to dismantle the camera. I lived again, and I suddenly remembered it after I got on the plane. That's why I took advantage of Rita's mouth to remind Ethan to go online to sell misery. News spreads very fast these days. Ethan will surely become more unscrupulous after tasting the sweetness of becoming an internet celebrity. This unscrupulousness is what I am waiting for. It is human nature to be complacent, and Ethan is the worst. When he was most proud, his personality completely collapsed, everything he had just gained became a bubble in an instant, and he even became a rat crossing the street that everyone wanted to beat, which was the most heartbreaking. What I want is to beat Ethan to death with a stick, so that he will never be able to turn over in this life. Maybe he suffered too much in his previous life, and God also stood on my side in the dark. I originally just wanted to capture some videos of Ethan beating me and my daughter who had repaid kindness with hatred, but I never expected that the videos they posted online to sell misery were all shot in the living room and were captured by a high-definition camera. I saw Ethan crying in front of the camera while holding his daughter who had repaid kindness with hatred a second ago. After turning off the video, he immediately threw her aside and beat and scolded her angrily. Ethan has been beating me for so many years, beating people has become a habit. He threw my ungrateful daughter to the ground, and before she could get up, she was kicked hard by him, cursing, "Useless money loser, hurry up and cook me some good dishes. You delayed my drinking time, I'll beat you to death. Dad, don't be angry." I know. The ungrateful daughter had been beaten by Ethan these days. Her body was bruised and blue. She became timid and didn't dare to refute. She quickly got up from the ground and went to the kitchen. Before she reached the kitchen, Ethan said again in a bad mood, "After cooking, continue to call your mother. No matter what method you use, you must find her. If she doesn't show up, I will throw you out of the window." When he said this, Ethan's fierce face was as ferocious as a devil. If it weren't for the fact that he had kept his ungrateful daughter, he would have thrown her out now. The daughter who repaid kindness with revenge trembled, a somewhat flattering smile appeared on her face, and she said with all her might, "Don't worry, Dad. Since Mom can answer your call, it means that she will read the messages on that phone." I lied to her that I couldn't think of committing suicide by cutting my wrists. I downloaded a photo of someone who committed suicide by cutting my wrists from the internet and sent it to her. If you feel sorry for me, you will definitely come back soon. Ethan knows very well how much I love my daughter who repays kindness with revenge, and his face became slightly better after hearing this. The daughter who had repaid her kindness with revenge had eyes filled with hatred, and she gritted her teeth and said, "Mom ran out regardless, and wanted to ruin Dad's way of making money. Damn it. If she comes back this time, Dad will definitely beat her to death." I originally thought that my daughter who would repay kindness with revenge was just arrogant and selfish, but I didn't expect that she was so vicious. In order to avoid being beaten by Ethan, she even lied to me to get me back, without considering my life or death at all. Also, in my previous life, if she had gone out earlier and called someone to rescue me, I wouldn't have been beaten to death by Ethan. I lived my life again. Fortunately, I woke up in time and gave up on her decisively, otherwise I would have been killed by her again. You deserve it. Lock yourself up with your good father, and there will be many benefits in the future. I sneered happily, kept the evidence and exited the monitoring. There was too much evidence, and it took me 2 whole days to sort it all out. In the past 2 days, Ethan continued to add drama to himself, and sold his misery online, and even played the actor-level acting skills. He said that he had a heart attack because of thinking about me, and knelt down in public in the live broadcast room, begging me to go back in a low voice. Alas, I didn't expect that there are still such a loving and loyal man in this day and age. It's easy to get a priceless treasure, but it's hard to get a lover. More and more people praised Ethan, and more people gave him rewards to buy traffic to spread the popularity. Occasionally, there would be 1 or 2 doubts. Kneeling down and crying for forgiveness at every turn, isn't this the typical style of a domestic violence man? This matter may not be what he said. Yes, don't rush to make a conclusion, maybe there will be a reversal. Such rational people are still a minority, and soon they were drowned in the voices of many people supporting Ethan. Ethan became more and more proud, and began to have ambiguous relationships with his female colleague Chen Jingjing frequently. He even blatantly brought Chen Jingjing home to have an affair in the name of repaying kindness with enmity, saying that his daughter was still young and needed to be taken care of. In front of Chen Jingjing, Ethan said that he had long been tired of me, and after throwing all the dirty water on me and ruining my reputation, he would file for a divorce, use the victim's identity to become an internet celebrity, make money and marry Chen Jingjing in a grand manner. All of this was captured by the camera I installed at home. I really have to thank this pair of dogs and bitches for being so vulnerable to provocation. Every step they took fell into my trap accurately. Misfortune can be forgiven, but misfortune cannot be forgiven. Seeing that the time was ripe, I stopped forbearing. I logged into my previous social accounts and listed all the evidence one by one, accusing Ethan of lying. I really have to thank this pair of dogs and bitches for being so vulnerable to provocation. Every step they took fell into my trap accurately. In the past few days, I have also figured out the routines on the internet. I spent a lot of money to invest in traffic. The response post was quickly pushed to the hot search, causing an uproar. Netizens love to join in the fun, but they hate being used the most. My counterattack was fast and fierce. Every photo and every video hit Ethan's point. With the evidence, he had no room for rebuttal. Soon a media reporter found me. I appeared in front of the camera without fear and carefully told Ethan's inhuman domestic violence over the years. The harm suffered by people cannot be erased. Although it has been so long, I still can't help crying when talking about those unbearable past events. I wiped my tears and spoke to the camera word by word. Domestic violence can only happen once or countless times. I hope that all the sisters who are experiencing domestic violence in front of the camera can stand up and resist bravely, and don't just accept it blindly and ruin your life. After adjusting my breath a little, I continued to persuade them earnestly, don't endure it just to give your child a complete family. Children with good character will naturally understand that you are taking her away from the sea of suffering. Children with bad character will only help the evil, and they are not worth your nostalgia. Women are themselves first, and then the mother of their children. I will never allow myself to have a sharp knife under my crotch that will stab me in the back. Countless women are experiencing the torture of domestic violence. Although many people have gradually become as numb and submissive as Rita, and even become accomplices of men, I still hope to use my own personal experience to awaken these people. Even if only one person can be awakened, it is a good deed with immeasurable merit. At the same time, I called the bus company where Ethan worked and sued Ethan for misconduct. It is a shame for the company to have such an employee. Shame? Of course, it depends on all aspects, but the most important one is the circle of acquaintances. Ethan, a disgusting bug, should be stepped on and thrown into the stinking ditch, and never be able to turn over in his life. For a while, public opinion was in an uproar. Wherever Ethan went, he was pointed at, ridiculed and insulted, and he was timid and didn't dare to refute a word. In fact, this is not surprising. All domestic violence men have a significant characteristic, that is, they can only be aggressive at home and are timid outside. No one would have thought that Ethan, an honest man who would not even step on an ad to death outside, would become a demon addicted to beating his wife behind the door. In my previous life, in order to protect Ethan's dignity, I believed the nonsense that family disgrace should not be made public. Except for a few close people, I never mentioned Ethan's domestic violence outside. The stronger the contrast, the more thoroughly Ethan's personality collapsed after his bad behavior was exposed. He is now synonymous with domestic violence men who are called by everyone, and he is pointed at all times when he goes out. In addition to me, the victim, there are many people who suffer from domestic violence. They are indignant and report Ethan's bad behavior to the bus company, asking the company to fire such bad employees. The leaders of the bus company were already annoyed by Ethan's affairs, so they simply used this as an excuse to directly fire him on the grounds that Ethan's character was despicable and caused a huge bad impact on the company. Netizens who had previously rewarded him online also left messages asking him to return the money. Ethan couldn't bear such a huge psychological gap, and it was even more impossible for him to spit back the money that had already been in his pocket. He closed the comment area and became a turtle again. I saw him build a high building. I saw him entertain guests. I saw his building collapse. Chen Jingjing was originally with Ethan because of his internet celebrity status. Now that she has failed to steal the chicken and lost the rice, she naturally has no nostalgia. She just said that she was deceived by Ethan, cleanly cut off her relationship with him, resigned and ran away to an unknown place. While Ethan was out hiding and living a life of drunkenness, I hurried home to get the diploma I forgot to bring. I had wasted so many years of my youth for the sake of my family and gave up the opportunity to continue my postgraduate studies. Now it was time to make up for it. The ungrateful daughter was crying on the sofa. When she saw me open the door and come in, she immediately rushed over. Mom, you finally came back to take care of me. I know you won't abandon me. Haha, this inexplicable confidence, I don't know where she got it from. I smiled coldly and broke her naive fantasy directly. You think too much, I came back to get my diploma. The ungrateful daughter stared at me blankly, as if she couldn't believe it. I ignored her and quickly found the diploma in the master bedroom cabinet. Mom, the ungrateful daughter may have been scared by Ethan these days. Seeing that I was about to turn around and leave without even looking at her, she rushed up in panic and grabbed my clothes. Mom, I was wrong. I was so ignorant and blinded by greed before. Please take me away. I really know I was wrong. Apologies are useful. What do we need the police for? I frowned slightly and shook off her hand without hesitation. From the moment my ungrateful daughter stabbed me in the back, she was no longer my daughter, but my sworn enemy. Moreover, she had stabbed me in the back countless times. If I just forgave her so easily, all the inhuman torture I had suffered before would really be what I deserved. For my ungrateful daughter, I was undoubtedly her lifeline. She quickly rushed over again, holding my arm tightly with both hands. Mom, I really didn't mean to tell Ethan the address of Suho home. I was deceived by him, and then he threatened me. Seemingly realizing something was wrong, the ungrateful daughter suddenly stopped talking and didn't continue. My heart twitched violently. Suho home was the place where I was beaten to death by Ethan in my previous life. Under my planning in this life, I never went to City B, nor did I rent a house in Suha home. How could my ungrateful daughter know? Could it be that you were reborn? I stared at my ungrateful daughter, trying to get a definite answer from her expression. My ungrateful daughter was frightened by my stare, and her small body couldn't help trembling. Mom, you too. Yes, I was reborn too. In the horrified eyes of my ungrateful daughter, I quickly gave her a positive answer, and then slapped her. I had no reason to forgive you in the first place, and now I have even less reason. Her backstabbing against me did not start from that time, and the sin naturally did not start from that moment. If she did not remember the things in her previous life, I would just let her fend for herself. Now that she remembers it, don't blame me for taking revenge. She deserves it. After leaving the house, I pulled Ethan's contact information from the blacklist and directly sent him the recording of my daughter begging me to take her away after repaying kindness with hatred. Note: keep your daughter under control and don't harass me. Ethan is the most narrow-minded. In his opinion, both his wife and daughter are his private property. They can only be beaten and scolded by him without any resistance. Now he is extremely depressed and needs an outlet. The servile behavior of his daughter who repays kindness with enmity in front of me will inevitably arouse his rage. Whoever is cut by the knife will know the pain. Didn't the daughter who repays kindness with enmity always say that beating is love and scolding is love, and Ethan only hit me a few times, so it's not hypocritical? Then let her bear Ethan's surging love. As for whether she will be beaten to death, it depends on her own luck. Ethan is a man of action. He will take revenge immediately and never wait overnight. That night, the daughter who repays kindness with enmity was beaten to a horrible state, but her luck is better than mine in my previous life. I don't know which neighbor couldn't bear to hear this tragic cry for help and quietly called the police. The police arrived in time and rescued the daughter who was beaten to death. Ethan was detained for 15 days. However, this was just a family dispute after all. During the detention, Ethan cried and actively confessed, saying that he had known his mistakes and would never hit the child again. He wrote a letter of guarantee under the supervision of the police and was released. The daughter who was repaid with kindness and revenge had many injuries and stayed in the hospital for several days. I, a victim of domestic violence and online violence, now need rehabilitation treatment myself, so naturally I can't take care of her. The police could only find my mother-in-law who lives in the countryside. My mother-in-law is a son-in-law. Since the daughter who was repaid with kindness and revenge was born, she has not looked at her for many times, and now she is scolding her at every turn. You poor loser, I just hit you a few times, but you dared to call the police to arrest your father. I think you want to die. What are you eating? I'm starving you to death. Go find your bitch mother now, don't get in my way. Some people are born mean. In the past 8 years, I have taken care of her wholeheartedly, but she has not been grateful at all. She has been sarcastic and dissatisfied with me from time to time, and has been stabbing me in the back. Now, facing the continuous cursing of the old shrew for several hours a day, I dare not say a word. I can only say that bitches have their own way. Ahem, this prosperous world is just as I wish. The 1-month divorce cooling off period passed in a flash. Accompanied by bodyguards and many media reporters, I went to the Civil Affairs Bureau to divorce Ethan. I also paid for the house for the marriage, but now she doesn't want anything. I converted all the money into alimony for my daughter who repays kindness with hatred and gave it to Ethan in one lump sum. In response, the lawyer said indignantly, Maya, you are too kind. You should have half of this house. I can get it for you. No need. I smiled and shook my head. If you drive a dog into a poor alley, it will backfire. Now Ethan has lost his job and only has this house. If he is divided into half, he will definitely do something more crazy. Although Ethan does not know my current address, with the development of information nowadays, if he is determined to find me, he may find me one day. There is only a thief who steals for 1,000 days, but no one can guard against thieves for 1,000 days. It's better to lose money to avoid disaster and end it completely. As for money, I'm completely free of burden now, so why should I be afraid of not being able to make money? The moment I got the divorce certificate, I slowly exhaled a breath of turbid air, and the whole person felt like a new life. Ethan wanted to say something to me, but I didn't want to look at him again, so I left without looking back. As for my daughter who repays kindness with enmity, I don't know if she was made smart by Ethan last time, or she completely gave up after knowing that I was also reborn, and she didn't show up at the Civil Affairs Bureau. After leaving the Civil Affairs Bureau, I got into the car under the strict protection of the bodyguard. When I got in the car, the bodyguard sighed with some regret. Maya, I noticed that Ethan had an axe on his waist. I originally thought that I would wait for him to take out the axe and then go over to subdue him. He would definitely be sentenced to several years in prison for intentionally injuring someone in public. I didn't expect that grandson was a coward. Seeing so many people around, he didn't dare to take it out. I smiled and said, he is a coward. Not only Ethan, all domestic violence men are cowards. They only dare to bully their wives and children who are weaker than them, and they dare not even fart outside. The bodyguard nodded in agreement, and when he spoke again, he had changed to a relaxed tone. Congratulations, Maya, on your new life. Thank you. I smiled and nodded, subconsciously turning my eyes to the window. At the corner of the street, a small figure quietly poked his head out and watched my car leave with a complicated expression. The daughter who repays kindness with enmity finally came. Looking at her thin and frail appearance, my heart subconsciously twitched, but it was only for a moment, and soon returned to normal. I can't forget the despair I felt when I was beaten and kicked by Ethan in my previous life. Even after so long, the pain of the fists hitting my body is still so clear. I had escaped from the sea of suffering, all of which came from the backstab of my daughter who had repaid kindness with hatred. I can never forgive her, otherwise I would be sorry for myself who had once died in despair. I thought that the matter was completely over. Unfortunately, I underestimated Ethan's cruelty. He didn't allow his daughter who had repaid kindness with hatred to go to school. He locked her up at home to buy groceries, cook, do housework, and serve him. If she didn't do it to his liking, he would beat her up. The daughter who had repaid kindness with hatred was not a person who would just accept it. She couldn't stand being beaten and scolded, so she secretly put rat poison in the soup and drank it down when Ethan was drunk. Unfortunately, the quality of the rat poison was not up to standard. It didn't kill people, but only made them half paralyzed, and they had to lie in bed for the rest of their lives. The ungrateful daughter was smart and insisted that Ethan was drunk and put rat poison into the soup by mistake as seasoning, and it had nothing to do with her. She was not even 10 years old, so she could not be sentenced. With such a firm statement and no evidence, the case could only be left unresolved. What awaited Ethan was only endless torture day after day. That night, I had a very long dream. I dreamed that in the previous life, after Ethan was released from prison, he and the ungrateful daughter spent only a few days of loving father and daughter, and then remarried with a woman. Not long after the marriage, the woman became pregnant and gave birth to a boy. After having a son, Ethan became increasingly cold to his daughter who had repaid his kindness with hatred. After graduating from junior high school, he did not allow her to go to school anymore and forced her to go out to work to earn money to support her younger brother. The daughter who had repaid her kindness with hatred tried to escape several times, but was chased back by Ethan and beaten up. At that time, she realized my kindness, but it was too late. She could only watch herself being sold to a middle-aged upstart in exchange for a dowry. Every grievance has its perpetrator. She has also avenged herself in this life. However, everything here has nothing to do with me. I have already completed the procedures for studying in Germany, and a brand new life is waiting for me. The future, the road is ahead. The road is under my feet.